Goodish news. Carl has decided to switch up workouts on us again. Our legs have been taking the brunt of the torture this week, and he's been making us go on 8-hour runs, all the while wearing heavy packs. I jokingly asked him if they were filled with rocks, and he said yes. Hopefully, that gives you a decent picture in regards to what we're going through. My shoulders are burning, and my legs feel like jelly. Relating to jelly, I'll pick up where I left off last week. Now, after the incident in the tower, I've never been able to look at jelly the same way again, although I wasn't a huge fan of it in the first place. What the fuck is that thing? I asked as it was towering over us. The way it looked at us made me feel akin to mice being sized up by a cat. It's called an engulfer. Whatever it touches becomes part of it. How do we stop it? Aim for the center. That's where its heart is. If I do, will everyone go back to normal? Provided they haven't been a part of it for too long, yes. I thought it was a good thing I still had my lance. It was going to be great for sticking it in between his body parts. At least it would have been if not for what happened next. Before I could react, a tendril shot from it, yanking the lance out of my grip. Huh? I said, staring out at my now empty hands. Glancing back up, showed me that the engulfer was now swallowing my weapon. It let out a burp when done, then shot another tendril toward us. I jumped out of the way, and it stretched towards the back wall. Christ, this thing had a range that was insane, I thought. I felt like no matter where I ran, it would be able to reach me. Can you fly us past this thing? He knelt so I could climb onto his back, then attempted flying only to tumble to the floor. The fuck was that? I asked, getting to my feet. I haven't adapted enough to this body yet. Another tendril came shooting towards us, which I ducked. We'll have to fall back then. I got back on him, and we began running like hell. All the while, I guided him on avoiding the engulfer's attacks. Whatever direction it tried striking in, I told him to avoid. For example, if it attacked left, we went right. It aimed for his legs, we jumped, and so on. Although there were some way too close calls, we managed to escape it. I think we lost it, I said, breathing heavily and hopping back onto the floor. For now, but it'll be after us. Do you know if the armory is near here? Not without going back towards it. Is there any other way to hurt it? Fire and lightning, but if she's part of it, I don't want to risk hurting her. I didn't want to risk hurting Carl either, but time wasn't on our side. If we didn't act fast, saving either of them wouldn't be possible. Is there anything in your lab that might help us? Getting back to it would take too long. What about the kitchen? Why there? I have an idea. How long will it take to get there? Not long. What we made with some help were bombs from gas and various spices. We headed back towards the engulfer. There, we took a gamble that very well could have cost us our lives. If this doesn't work, I want you to know that you're a psychotic piece of shit. Tendril shot out, yanking us forward. Fucking hell did it hurt, starting with its slime soaking through my shirt. I felt as if someone had lit my chest on fire. That feeling extended as we were being swallowed by it. My mind was racing with a combination of fear and pain. Somehow, I managed to regain my focus. It had to expand some to add us. When it did, we slammed the bombs into it, making them explode into fire. It groaned in pain. The noise was akin to someone having a bellyache. I felt the engulfer's grip loosen. It began shrinking, slowly at first, and then rapidly. Hybrids, Pegasus, humans, and the body parts of all three started falling from it. I was at the top when I fell. I grabbed onto his heart while falling. While it did cushion my fall, it also exploded into orange goopy liquid, covering everyone, both alive and dead. Carl, I called out, coughing up some of the foul liquid. I'm here, Pete. I'm still in one piece, I think. Most of the hybrids had survived, including the leader. She was hostile towards the banished prince, but I managed to smooth things over. I left out the part of him being her father, since that would take a lot of explaining. However, I did suggest to her that she should use one of the truth extracting methods on him. I commend you for your efforts, the leader told us. With the supplies here, the Unicorn Kingdom will be ours. So does that mean you won't be needing us anymore? She considered my question for a moment. I suppose we could invade without your help. Very well. As a reward for saving us, you're free to go. We received a jar of hybrid blood as promised. As it turns out, hybrids are also capable of entering our world. The leader turned one of the doors in the tower into a portal back to it. The only downside is that some of Carl's things were still at the Unicorn Castle. We decided they weren't worth the trouble. As a souvenir, we got a small handful of hybrid fur, albeit coated in blood. Getting back was surreal. We came out of a tree that still had the door we used on it. After returning to where we parked, it closed behind us and disappeared. Then we got back to Nick. How long have we been gone? I asked the old woman. Nearly 5 days. I've been trying to keep your friend's sickness at bay, but I can only do so much. Did you get the blood? Carl showed her the jar. Will it be enough? He asked. Hopefully. She led us back to the room where Nick was being kept. His condition had gotten alarmingly worse. His body had swelled further, and his skin had become more like the toads. Pour it into his mouth. I held up his head while Carl poured the blood. Thankfully, it worked great. We saw him begin shrinking, then his skin returned to normal. Fuck my head, he groggily said, sitting up. Where are we? What happened? We explained things to him, leaving out how he killed a cop. We figured he already had enough to deal with. What's the last thing you remember? I asked him. Honestly, not much. By the way, how did the rest of the invasion turn out? Who cares? That was a question that we could all agree with. Anyway, that'll do for now. Next week's post, we'll be taking a break from the road.